Hey guys, welcome back to Film Title. Today we'll talk about the most insane moments on Dr. Pimple Popper. Let's head into it. Number 1. Dr. Pimple Popper squeezed a lumpy fat mass out of a woman's bicep. One of Dr. P's most recent patients gave a simple and gratifying pop, a welcome change from her messier treatments. Dr. Pimple Popper healed a woman with a lipoma, or a fat lump, inside her bicep in a recent video. After injecting the area with a numbing medication off camera, chopped through the growth center with a surgical blade, the tumor was promptly diagnosed as a lipoma by Dr. Pimple Popper. A lipoma is a fat-filled growth that develops between the muscle layer and the skin layer of a person. Lipomas usually grow slowly and are modest, with a diameter of around 2 inches. Dr. Pimple Popper explained in a recent video that lipomas are enclosed in a tiny sac beneath the skin surface, which allows them to pop out of the skin with one squeeze. The lumpy off-white lipoma appeared shortly after Lee finished making the incision. She next loosened the lipoma from the patient's inner skin walls with her gloved fingers and scissors. Dr. P also pushed the lipoma to the surface by squeezing both sides of the incision with her fingertips. An amorphous mass of fat erupted out of the skin cavity soon after, though a bit of tissue kept it linked to the patient. Dr. P utilized medical stitches to close the wound, after making sure she had removed all the lipoma fragments. The patient's post-surgery rehabilitation should be painless, said Lee, because the lipoma was removed from a fatty location, rather than near a muscle, which can be more uncomfortable. Number 2. Dr. Pimple Popper pulled a scrambled egg lipoma out of a man's neck. Lee gave an inside peek at how she treats a lipoma in a March 10 YouTube video. Lipomas usually grow slowly and are modest, with a diameter of around 2 inches. The patient's lipoma was about the size of an apple and was found on his neck, behind his ear in this case. It had been increasing over the previous 10 years. Dr. P cut through the middle of the tumor with a surgical blade to remove it. Blood began to ooze out of the lipoma as soon as she cut it open. Lee used a cauterizing pen to reduce bleeding and obtain a better look at the growth. She then used scissors to cut pieces of the lipoma away from the patient's skin walls, releasing it. Her action caused additional blood to come out of the wound. When Lee squeezed each side of the lipoma with her hands, she recognized it wouldn't come out in one swift snap like many lipomas do. Lee stated of the lipoma, "He's not being too friendly to me." That's when she decided to widen the incision and dig out portions of the lipoma with her tweezers and fingers. The lipoma came out in pieces rather than all at once, according to Lee, because the patient had a lot of fibers under his skin that served like a fishing net, capturing fragments of the lipoma as it slid out. Lee described the microscopic particles as scrambled eggs. Dr. P removed all the growth remnants. After nearly 10 minutes of struggling with it, she finished the job by stitching the incision shut. Number 3. Dr. Pimple Popper squeezed a man's 3 mashed potato neck cysts. Dr. Pimple Popper has already blessed her followers with a new acne material, and she's already blessed her fans with a new acne content to get them through the year ahead. The dermatologist removed a woman's cheek cyst and assisted a man in finding a doctor to remove his unique and huge neck growth for the season 5 premiere of her TLC show, Dr. Pimple Popper. Juan, a 32-year-old from Texas, was also helped by Dr. P, who had golf ball-sized boils all over his body. Juan first noticed the bumps when he was 13 years old, and they grew in number and size over time, leading to him being ridiculed at school and eventually quitting out. Juan stated that he had consulted several doctors for his problem, but that many of them were reluctant to touch him after seeing the magnitude of his growths. Juan's growths were drained by others, but they grew again after a few months. Juan wore his hair long to disguise the large bumps on his neck as a coping mechanism. Despite this, Juan described the growths as painful at times, like a softball attempting to escape through a pinhole. Dr. P said she could remove Juan's largest cysts, or fat-filled growths, but she couldn't guarantee that they wouldn't come back because he had a lot of scar tissue, which promotes cyst growth, according to Lee. To begin, Lee targeted the largest cyst on Juan's neck, which was the size of a grapefruit. She numbed the region before cutting it open, releasing an off-white thick substance. Dr. P told Juan, who was lying face down on the surgical table, that it looked like mashed potatoes. Juan said he felt immediate relief as more liquid poured out of the tumor, and Lee discovered another cyst that had been buried by the first one. This brings us to the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit like if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any of our videos in the future. Also, watch the 2 videos that are on your screen because I'm sure you'll love them. With that, I'll see you in the next video.